You are listening to Megan is Not a Parent, But. And today's episode is brought to you by my Positive Parenting Class Pass. Positive Parenting Class Pass is 6 simple positive parenting classes to kickstart your positive parenting journey. You can find out more information and get registered today at bekindcoaching.com/classpass. In today's episode, we'll be talking about how you can ensure that you're doing your part, P.A.R.T. This is an acronym by Dan Seigel that I love, and I'm excited to dig into today. We use doing your part to build trust and safety with your family. So I invite you to get cozy, grab your notebook, and let's dig in. All right, friends, I am thrilled to talk about this episode and share about this episode because this episode is a pretty little bow on almost this whole season. It really takes into account the momentum that we've been building all season long. So I'm going to start here by grounding us together that positive parenting is a philosophy of parenting. And that philosophy of parenting is helping us ground, wrong slide. That philosophy in parenting is helping you start to discern from you as the parent and starting to become insightful and critical to the methods that you're using. And that's what we're here to do today. We're starting to, again, connect all of those dots that we've laid the foundation for all season long. And in positive parenting, it is a philosophy that values the parent-child relationship. So if you're, just tuning in now and you're catching this episode and you're like, whoa, what are you talking about, Megan? It's tying up, connecting dots and tying up loose ends. Well, I encourage you that this episode, I actually had to stop myself from referencing past episodes and just let this episode be what it is. But some really great episodes to go back and dig into or revisit, especially if you've already listened to them. It's a really great time to revisit them, is episode 5.1, which is the start of this season. You are co-creating with your child. The next episode I encourage you to revisit is the parent-child relationship is asymmetrical. That's episode 5.4. Then I would invite you to dig into episode 5.26, the fantasy of the quote unquote good relationship. And then 5.36 is that a good relationship is a secure relationship. So if you are just listening, you just were shared this episode, or you're just tuning in to this episode now, those are some really great past episodes to reference. So we're talking about the quality of the relationship and the quality of the parent-child relationship. Our quality of attachment supports the quality of our relationships. That we talked through and really dug into during episode 5.27. The attachment theory is not attachment parenting, where we're starting to say, hey, it's about creating this relationship together. And when we looked and dug into attachment theory, we started to consider and start to open up to the questions of, does your child feel safe, seen, soothed, and secure in exploring and sharing their world with you? Meaning, you can be living in the same household, you can be going through the same experiences and having totally different perceptions and perspectives of that experience. So we're thinking about building that relationship together. It's asking and posing the question, like, does your child feel safe liking the things that they like, expressing the things that they dislike to you, sharing their world with you? And on the flip side, do you feel safe, seen, soothed, and secure in exploring and sharing their world with them? As you're going through and building this relationship, that energy between, building that relationship together in safe, seen, soothing, and secure ways. And that two-way communication facilitates that relationship. So when we talked about listening and communication and nonverbal communication and building this relationship together, we're looking at it, does the communication flow freely back and forth from the parent to the child? And is there space to communicate together back and forth? That positive parenting, the work that I do to help build your toolbox, to help you practice those tools, to help refine those tools and improve your confidence in those tools, positive parenting methods help you improve that quality of the communication and quality of that relationship. And today, the question that we're going to be digging into is asking and answering, are you doing your part? As I said before, P.A.R.T. This is about connecting the me and the you into the we. So that it's called, in Dan Seigel's world and research, is called the me-we connection, where we're now connecting two worlds and accurately bridging them together. It's like we're linking together in chains where each link is a separate link, but together they make the chain. So the acronym P.A.R.T, P-A.R.T, stands for presence, attunement, resonance, and trust. And we're going to go through and we're going to break these down, each section, and really do a little bit of a closer dive into each of these. So the first P, presence. When we're talking about presence, we're talking about embracing uncertainty. And in presence, we dug into what does it mean to be present inside of episode 4.19. I tell you what, I'm going to keep referencing the past episodes to keep going, digging in, but truly this episode just ties them all together. But back on track. Again, stay focused. Presence. What does being present mean? Being present is being able to be receptive and open to what's going on in front of you instead of regulating and controlling what's going on in front of you. I'm going to let you sit with that for a moment. Being present means being receptive and open to what's going on, what you're witnessing, instead of trying to regulate and control what you're witnessing. When we think about this through the context of parenting, when we're invited into self-assess, like, are we able to stay present, or what's blocking presence? What we'll do is we'll bring awareness and we'll become aware of our unconscious expectations and judgments. So we'll start to become accountable to the times where we make the mistake of searching for the why. Like, why are you doing that? What can I do to make you stop doing that? Right? This invites us into this like problem search party where I need to find the problems and I need to eliminate the problems instead of staying present in the current state. So when we search for the why, when we search for justification, when we search for that response, we're doing so that we can understand it, but also so that we can fix and rescue and avoid it. So staying present invites us to stay tuned in and aware to the current state. It invites us to help meet our child where they are, so that when they're saying, I need support, we are now able to, again, stay present to what they need from us, instead of shifting into, making them see it from our point of view, right? They don't need to share our experience, where we start to get into our judgmental minds of thinking things like, do you really need my support? Or why do you need my support right now? Or I don't want you to need me right now. We're starting to take our experience and put it to the child when they're displaying difficult behaviors, when they're displaying things that are, not the same as us. We can go into that lens of trying to force our experience, our perspective, our understanding onto them. And in reverse, we don't need to share their experience, meaning we don't need to take their experience on as our own experience. So this looks like thinking things like, well, I'm responsible for fixing this, or I don't want to cause harm, or I don't agree with their experience. And really feeling like, oh, well, if they're upset, I need to think the exact same as them. And I think that this is what we're going to get into a little bit later. But I think that when we understand this, it makes sense. It makes sense that it's challenging when we either feel like we need to give them ours or take on theirs. It makes sense why then we get shifted into resistance. Things become harder, things become heavier, things become more escalated. Like they'll start to get louder and bigger and stronger. Like the who is that song by? Faster, bigger, stronger. Oh, I'm butchering it. I'm sure someone who's live. Oh, I wish Cindy was here. Cindy would have done my Google search for me. the title is out of my mind. Daft Punk. Thank you, Kimmy. Yes. What is the title of the song? Faster, better, stronger. Anyways, it's gone now. Stay present, Megan. Look, that's how quickly I got shifted out of staying present. Staying present, again, invites us to come back to the situation so that I can now help them, the child in front of me, make sense of their experience. It allows us to stay present. So when the child is communicating, like, I need help, I need support, and they're not going to do that through their words. They're not going to say things like, I need help and support. They're going to do things like throwing their cup. They're going to do things like scratching your face. They're going to do things like screaming no, saying I hate you. They're going to be communicating that they're offline, that they're dysregulated, that they're in need of support. And so in those moments, we can now start to ask ourselves and tell ourselves, like, okay, you need me. And then we can start to check in, like, what is my capacity right now? What supports do I have access to? And we can start to do that work of staying present to the situation. Being present is the opposite of shame, right? Where we're now trying to shift and make them think differently of their experience, inviting in the potential of shame, thinking like, okay, I'm not good enough. I can't do this enough. I'm not good and worthy as is. Instead, when we're able to stay present to our needs and their needs, we can now invite in connection. We can invite in acceptance, a sense of belonging. So instead of interpreting that struggle in front of us as bad and then interpreting it as an intentional threat, we are aware of their dysregulation. We're not trying to stop their dysregulation. We're not trying to calm right now their dysregulation right now. In being present, we're just aware of it. Being present is the opening of our own minds. So that's P.A.R.T. That's the first letter of P.A.R.T. Being present, just opening our minds, checking when we're getting into control and doing that work to just stay present and open. The next letter in our acronym is attunement. Attunement means focusing attention on another. So we've been present to their experience, and now we're going to start to focus our attention onto them. That's called attunement. So when we're thinking about attunement, Dan Seigel talks about how we can be present to someone without attuning to them. So this is, for me, when you're out in public and you're seeing someone struggle, like with the bank teller, or they're struggling with their car tire, and we're driving past and we're witnessing them, we're present to them, and we're like, wow, they're having a really hard time right now, but we're not doing the work to attune to them. We're not slowing down, we're not stopping. Sometimes we may, but we're just being present without attuning. When we're talking about attunement, it's really hard to attune to someone without being first present with them. For example, like that flat tire on the side of the road, it's really easy to drive past and say, oh, they got a flat tire. Like, that would suck. Like, their whole day would be jolted by that. And then we could just carry on with our day. When we're attuning to someone's experience, that means that we see it. We're like, wow, they have a flat tire. And then we're now asking, hey, do you need help? How can I help support you? We're now tuning in and really changing our actions and our behaviors. We're now tuning in and going to be present with them. So attunement in parent-child communicates to the child that the parent can understand and share the child's feelings. There's nuance here. It doesn't mean that you have to feel the same way as them. It doesn't mean that we need to take on theirs or make them take on ours. It just is meaning, like, I can communicate that, hey, I see the distress, and I'm tuning in, I'm focusing my energy to help support you. And we can do this through our senses. And we can use our senses, our nonverbal communications, to tune in. So our senses of sight, smell, taste, hearing, touch, and also our senses of interoception, the sense of our body feels, like our gut feelings, the vestibular, which is the sense of in our head, in our space, And proprioception is the sense of our muscles and joints. So we can use our whole experience to communicate to someone else. Hey, I see what's going on. I'm present to what you're going through, and I'm tuning myself to you. That being present is the opening of our mind, and attuning is that focusing of that opening onto another person. When we think about attunement, naturally, I start to think about misattunement. Misattunement is defined as a lack of rapport between child and parent or caregivers, such that the child's efforts at communication and expression are not responded to in a way that allows the child to feel understood. So again, when we're in this misattuned state, when the child is displaying something like, I need help and support, using their behavior to communicate that, when we're trying to put our experience onto them, is a misattunement. And then when we're feeling like we need to absorb theirs, is a misattunement. In my point of view, this misattunement is actually a search for sameness. And that search for sameness makes sense to me because we're trying to maintain empathetic connection. It means that we're trying to say like, hey, I know that it's easy for me to have empathy for people who are like me. So that's why I feel the need to like get to feel the same thing about you. And it's hard when I don't feel like we're the same, when we're in like the not like me's, right? So then it feels hard. And the invitation here for us is to start to widen and search for sameness in the not like me category. So, woof, I'm going to slow down and I'm going to say this again. From my point of view, it's a search for sameness to maintain empathetic connection, where that empathetic connection, it's easy for the like me's. So think about the people that are in your neighborhood that are like you. Think about your friends who are like you. Think about the things that you navigate in your life that are like yous. Then it's easy to have empathetic connection because now we're the same. I get it. Like, I know this. We have the same likes, we have the same dislikes, we have the same values, we have the same judgments. It's easy for me to have empathy for that. Where it feels hard is for the not like me's, the people who think differently than I do, have different point of views, have different opinions, have different ideas, have different likes, dislikes. Then it's hard. That empathetic connection then is blocked. And what I'm inviting you is to start to, instead of value like easy, I should do more, and hard, I should avoid, right? We talk about this inside of the Understanding Us series, where easy is just what we've practiced more, where hard is where we haven't practiced. I invite us and anyone listening to this to search for sameness, search for a way to get on the same page with someone. That way you can start to widen the like me's. We can start to widen our empathetic connection. And when we start to widen our empathetic connection, then it makes it easier to attune to someone. So attunement, by definition, is the matching of affect between child and parent or caregiver to create emotional synchrony. Attunement communicates to the child that the parent can understand and share the infant or child's feelings. So when we're thinking about attunement, there's a boundary between us, an energetic boundary between us, where the child is saying, I need support. And now the adult or caregiver can start to communicate in ways that communicate, you need support. So I've tuned in, not with the goal of sameness or the like me's, but instead of saying, hey, how can I start to align my energy, align my actions, align my focus so that I can start acting in ways that communicate, I see you, I hear you, I understand you. And that's where we start to click into the R, and the R is resonance. Resonance is becoming changed. It's a changed state by another person. And resonance, we know, if you ever have had a guitar and you strummed the strings of a guitar, if you just pluck one guitar string, you can hear the reverbs in the other strings. Like the other strings start to vibrate. They were not plucked, but they're vibrating. That resonance means that we don't become the other person. We don't have to share the same identity as the other person. We don't assume everything that the other person does. We just become shifted because of them. So again, like those strings, when we pluck one string and the other strings start to vibrate, that's resonance. They're in resonance with each other. And that person then begins to feel felt, meaning the person sends out signals, they're sending out messages through their verbal and nonverbal communications. And then on the receiving end, those messages are landing. And then we're sending messages back, and those messages are landing. And that's when we start to feel good. We start to feel like someone gets us, someone understands us. It's those things that are in resonance with us. And when we're thinking about parent-child and a parent wanting to show up in ways that communicates, I see you, I hear you, I understand you. Now we can start to see like, hey, is that what's landing with my child? Are they feeling seen, heard, and understood through the easy times, the like me times, and through the not like me times or those hard times? So those verbal and nonverbal communications, again, communicating and landing that message, I understand your experience, where you are saying, I need help and support. There's a divide between us, and that energetic divide, that boundary between us, where I'm now different from you, but now I can do the work to link to you, right? Just like we were talking about the chain links, there's separate links that are connected together. That's connection, where we can start to show up in our words, in our nonverbal cues to start communicating, sending the message back. Hey, your message and need for support landed with me, and I understand it. And now I'm showing up in ways that helps you see that you can be seen, heard, and understood. So again, working through P.A.R.T, being present is the opening of our mind. Attuning is focusing the attention on another person. And then resonance is the changed state by another. The other the other example that we've been using of, I'm laughing as this is like coming together in my mind, of someone with a flat tire. Like think about, you're going to work and you see someone. I'm laughing because of how many times this has played out, not only as me, as the person with the flat tire, but me as the person trying to give aid and support. So you're driving on the side of the road and you see a person with a flat tire and you're like, dang, that sucks. And you pull over, pull over to help them. And you say, hey, I'm here to help you. I'm not like showing up. I'm attuning my actions to you. Like, how can I help you? And they say, oh, I'm like laughing as I'm visualizing this and telling it. And so you say, okay, well, I can help you change your tire. And they say, okay, it's my driver's side, my front driver's side tire. And then you change the back passenger side tire, right? That's like misattunement and misresonance, where like their message didn't land with you. And so then they're like, oh, well, thank you for trying to change the back tire, but really I need the front driver's side tire changed. And like at that point, either like we can realize like, oh wait, we've misattuned here. Like the messages there was a miscommunication, and work to get on the same page with that person. Or we get defensive. We're like, well, I'm just trying to help you. I pulled over. I stopped my day to help you. Like, can't you be grateful that I'm changing your tire? And the person with the flat tire is like, I mean, I'm grateful that you pulled over and helped, but your help is unhelpful because it's not attuned to my needs, my desires, my hopes, my support needs. And I think I'm like, as I'm getting through this example in my head, like thinking about like, yeah, there have been times in my life that I have been the stranded driver and someone's coming to my aid, trying to change all of the wrong tires. And then I'm like desperately being like, no, not that one, not there, not there. And that person who's trying to help is then like rooting into their intention, right? Like, I'm trying to help you. Like, why don't you let me help you? Versus tuning into the impact to see like, oh, wait, I'm not, my actions are not landing. And instead, saying, oh, I've made a mistake. I changed the wrong tire. What tire is it? Can you help me understand what tire needs help for you so that I can be helpful, so that you feel helped? I'm going to say that again. My goal of being helpful is so that you feel helped. And if you do not feel helped, then my actions were not helpful. That's switching from intention into impact. So why do we work to be present? Why do we work to attune? Why do we work to show up to communicate in resonance? Is so that we can start to develop trust. If we are present, if we've attuned, if we communicated in resonance, then we start to have trust. Trust is that state that is created together. When we think about trust, we think about not trust. So those qualities of being in trust with someone is that you're open. Being in trust with someone is that you're calm. Being in trust with someone is that you're responsive. Signs that you're not in trust with self and others is you're engaged in that fight, flight, freeze, fawn response, which we did an entire series on. When we're in a state of not trust, we're shutting down, we're reactive, we're quick. It's a loud sense of urgency. So we do this work to start to foster and slow down and do that work of regulating ourselves so that we can maintain trust and trust in that relationship. So when we're thinking about polyvagal theory and Stephen Porges' work, he introduced the idea of neuroception. And neuroception is that process of knowing if the environment is safe or not safe. It's that assessment of safety, physical safety, emotional safety, that will influence the trust or not trust response. Are we trusting, open, calm? Or are we not trusting, not safe, engaged in that stress response? So your child feels felt and can trust your accurate interpretation of their needs. That's why doing your part is so important, so that you can start to show up in ways that communicates, hey, I see your needs. I'm attuning to your needs. I'm communicating in ways that resonate with your needs. And then the result of that is there's mutual trust between us. For clear and kind parents, it's when I say, work for the yes, right? When you start to say things and your kids are like, no, 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 you're not listening to me. You don't understand me. No, they're telling you, misattuned, not resonating. No, they're not saying you're bad or you're wrong or you're not good enough. They're saying this isn't landing with me. Like, no, it's like you trying to change all the wrong tires. It's like, no, 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 no. Like that communication is so valuable if we're able to interpret it correctly. And then think about how good it feels like when you say things and they're like, yes, that's exactly right. Or yes, that's what I need. We're then working to say, hey, we can start to hear that as like, yeah, you got the right tire. I had a need and you filled the need. Like, yes. It's natural to start to think like, oh, well, I always have to work for the yes. I always have to value that perfection. And I want you to know that there will be times that you miss. There will be times that it's a no and it's an explosion and we go back to our old tools and we make ruptures in our relationships. That is part of the process. It is valuable to change the wrong tire so that now you can wake up and say, oh, I need to change the right tire. The value in that is being aware and awake to saying, ooh, I changed the wrong tire and I want to invest in changing the right tire. Hey, I made this fracture. I made this mistake. I misinterpreted what you needed from me. And now I want to come back and I want to repair it. That's the work of doing your part, being able to stay present, attune, resonate. And again, that outcome is trust. So when we're able to be present, it's the opening of our mind. Attuning is the focusing of our mind and our attention onto another person's experience. Resonance is that change state, being able to be changed by the other person. And then trust is that state that's created. So when we're asking, are we doing our part? It's on the outside, on the other side of conflicts. Are you showing up in ways that leave you feeling good, proud, confident, grounded, knowing that it's a process where out of 100 times, if when you start this work, 100 times is a miss, I want to say, way to go, knowing that 100 times you've changed the wrong tire, 100 times it's a miss. Our goal then is to get one landing, get one correct tire changed. Like, show up to repair it one time out of 100. And then we start to get curious to that one time. And then that one time starts to become 2 times. And then it becomes 3 times. And then we can start to gain momentum in doing this work where we're showing up and accurately interpreting and filling and supporting those needs for ourselves and others. And then we'll be on the flip side where now we've continued to build this process. And then we're going to have mistakes where if we've had a good stretch of 20 wins, there's going to be a moment where it's like, whoop, we made a mistake. And we've had this really great stretch of work to come back and say, okay, well, I can get back online. I can do that repair and we can pick up. So now it's the process of that connection, not the value of the perfection. And part of that is releasing that lens of perfection, releasing the need to get it right all the time, this all or nothing mindset. And part of that is releasing that dream child and releasing the dream parent, all of those things that you thought your kids would be, or you thought you would be, or the things that you said, well, I would never do that. And then you find yourself doing it, or like my child would never do that. And then they're doing it. Those roles and expectations, when we release those roles and expectations, it will help us do our part, because now we're staying present to what's really right in front of us. And sometimes that's the hardest part. The hardest part is just saying, let me meet myself exactly where I am. So in closing, as we wrap up, I'm going to invite you to consider, how attuned do you feel in your relationship to yourself, to your family, to your community? How well do you resonate with your child? Using the example of changing tires, how accurately are you changing the correct tire when they're having a hard time, when they're communicating with something that's valuable to them, to you? And the last question is, do you value making mistakes and then repairing them after? Are you valuing the process of this work? Are you valuing that those mistakes now have purpose? There's reason for them, and there's a valuable reason for them. That you feel safe now entering into that space where I can see it, I can feel it, and now I can repair it. This episode, as I said, just helps you tie up. We introduced the concept of P.A.R.T way early in the season, and I hinted upon it throughout the season, but I really love this moment just to reflect back, to say, like, this is the tie up of all of the momentum that we've been building throughout this season. Now, as you've listened, I invite you to show your work. If you've taken notes, if you have any thoughts, takeaways, I love to know them. I really encourage you to share them with me. And there's several ways that you can share them. You can leave a review on Apple Podcasts. You can share your thoughts and takeaways on social media and tag me. And you can share your thoughts and insights inside of our dedicated posts of our Facebook community, Positive Parenting with Megan Ford. Thank you for staying and tuning in to the end. My mission in life is to help support parents in feeling supported and empowered in doing this work. This podcast, my Facebook community, and all of my coaching programs all help parents work through the phases of awareness, education, and practice. If you are ready to take the next step, I encourage you to check out Class 2 inside of Positive Parenting ClassPass. It's called Emotional Validation. This class will help you balance your parenting toolbox by helping you connect with your child in a way that helps them feel safe, seen, and heard. To get started today, you can visit bekindcoaching.com/ClassPass. And as my free gift to you, you will have access to Raising Respectful Kids. Friends, I appreciate you being here. I love being on your support team, and I cannot wait to see you next time. Bye, friends.